Welcome, Steve. We are happy to have you on the show today. We are excited to hear your story. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask you a couple questions that we know our audience would love to hear about and learn from. But first, would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Stephen Ware. I'm based out of Chicago, Illinois. I'm the better half of Titan Wealth Group, with Fernando Angelucci being my business partner. That's not what I say. That's just what other people say. So don't trust me. But we source off-market deals primarily in the residential and self-storage space with a focus on self-storage.
All right. So we're just going to get jumping into these questions. So first question, did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I actually had no idea. So when I first went to college, I actually had entered university with the pursuit of getting an art degree. I was going to be a sculptor. And so the whole entrepreneurship occurred after college when I had graduated with an advertising degree, since I had a excellent guidance counselor in college who had asked, what do you really think you're going to be doing with your sculpture degree? I said, I'm going to pursue my passion. I love art. She said, okay, so you're not a very material guy. What do you mean? She said, so you're going to be fine with income not being the main fruit of your labor. And I was like, well, I kind of want to have a good income. She said, well, then I'd advise you to probably pursue something different. So advertising was the thought of combining business with art. I don't know if that's the actuality of advertising, but being in advertising, I got exposed to a lot of different businesses, gave me great skills I use to this day. But it was actually Fernando, my business partner, that dragged me into the entrepreneur lifestyle, and no regrets ever since.
That's great. So next question, if you could go back to a 16-year-old you and give him some advice, what would it be?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Jacob. If I had to go back and talk to 16-year-old Stephen, I think I would have started investing earlier, into myself as well as financially. I mean, I invested all through college, primarily in the stock market, which helped fund some fun and interesting experiences, but wasn't really with the thought of growing my portfolio, growing my wealth. So I think I would have given Stephen that advice to keep a greater eye on that, just because had I gotten started doing what I do today, even at age 18, I would be light years ahead of where I am today. And already at age 28, we already get the comments of, congratulations, you're doing fantastic. But, we've got that mindset. You always can do better. So starting earlier, starting at 16, that would have been tremendous.
So next question, if, who are your top 3 mentors that let you be the man you are today?
And now that's an easy question.
Okay.
So those top 3 mentors, I have many mentors, but top 3, I'd say 1 is my father. So my dad, John Ware, he is an entrepreneur himself. And so that's why when I got presented the opportunity to be walking those footsteps, I felt like the path was already partially paved. So my dad's a very wise guy, wise way beyond his years in many ways, but one of those ways being as a small business owner of multiple businesses throughout his life and getting to grow up in that, seeing that, and getting to learn from his path has made him a tremendous mentor, even beyond just being a fantastic father. Beyond that, since self-storage is our one true love right now, Scott Myers. So Scott Myers is one of the most successful self-storage entrepreneurs in the country, if not the world, as well as a phenomenal teacher. So he taught us everything we needed to know to get started. And then, of course, you learn many more things along the way, but Scott has always been there to help us out as we've grown. And now we're excited that we're at a level where we get to partner with him and get to have a very symbiotic relationship. So Scott has been a tremendous mentor to us. Now, for my third mentor, it would have to be Gary and Susan Harper. They came into our self-storage business and turned around our organization, the way that we were operating. We already were doing fantastic before they came in, and afterwards, it's been to the moon. So having them come in and teach us how to operate and function as a team, and the tips and tools that they gave us even apply to personal life. So when I think of mentors, I definitely think of Gary and Susan being fantastic mentors when it comes to business as well as family.
That's great. Um, how do you manage discouragement when things are not working out?
Well, thankfully, I'm a pretty optimistic guy. So going back to my first mentor, my dad, he's also a very optimistic guy. And so he had always taught me that if it's an issue that can be solved with money, it's not a problem because we can always make
Mm,
more money. Issues with time are a little bit more difficult because of the fact that time is the most valuable resource that we have. So dealing with disparagement, I'm not concerned if it is a financial setback. If it's one with my time that's frustrating, but you always use it as a learning opportunity. So using any sort of setback as a springboard is typically how I approach life, just because in that way you're constantly being blessed no matter what happens.
that's awesome. Um, what are some of your long-term goals? This is like a two-part question. So what are some of your long-term goals, and what are you doing to prepare to stay successful during this changing time?
Great question. So our goal is within 10 years to own $1 billion in self-storage assets.
Hmm,
Why self-storage answers your second part of the question. How are we going to maintain our success during changing market conditions is by choosing the correct investment vehicle. And we believe that to be self-storage. So self-storage is the most recession resilient real estate asset class out of them all. So we had our tinfoil hats on years ago, anticipating that there were going to be some real estate
uh,
market changes, a broader economic change. And certainly at the time of this recording, we are experiencing some changes in the market due to the coronavirus epidemic. So with self-storage, though, we feel very prepared for the future. And we also feel prepared for the future because of our network. Now, we've always had the mentality that if we want to go far, we have to go together. So we have relied upon our network to get to where we are today. And we're going to continue to do so moving into the future. And that's a two-way street. So we always embody an abundance mentality. And we have found that by having an abundance mentality, everything is possible. So we rely upon our network to achieve all of our business goals. And that's going to include getting to that $1 billion mark for self-storage, especially since every single year we're going to have to be acquiring exponentially larger and larger amounts of facilities. So in order to do that, obviously our marketing budget is going to increase year over year. But we also anticipate that our self-storage network is going to increase, and we're going to have people bringing us facilities as they do today.
Okay. We're gonna get into our last question. If you could pick any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think if I had to choose a superpower, it'd be the manipulation of time. Because as I mentioned earlier on this call, it's not any sort of new idea, but I truly do believe that time is our most valuable asset.
Mm,
So by being able to control time or manipulate time, I think that anything would be possible because with time you're able to learn as much as possible. You're able to achieve things that normally a lifetime would not be able to achieve. So I think manipulation of time would be my superpower.
yeah, that's pretty cool. As always, today's show was valuable information. I just want to thank you, Stephen, for being on the show with us today and being willing to share your experience and your story. Still there?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you.